All right, cool. All right, cool. Wait, just let me start up Camtasia. Silver. Start up Camtasia. Where
So everyone collaborate. Can you guys hear me and Brian?
where'd it go?
Awesome. Thanks. Sweet. Yeah, we're all good to go.
All right, let me just start up Camtasia. How's everybody's break?
Yeah, I've been good. How about you guys? Everyone in the room? They're all tired. They're all so tired. One said they had like 1 hour sleep. The other one had 3 hours. I don't know what. Yeah. Well, one of them had like a really annoying neighbor. So it's like, yeah.
All right. Man, the whole point of vacation is to get some sleep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to rest up a little bit as well, Brian?
No, just
Oh,
mostly
no.
working.
Um,
I got to take a day, not really a day off, and then ended up um I don't know, I'm really worried about America. Somehow or another, I started watching police cam videos. And signing a flow. Just worried about America. Like I can't believe some of these people are real.
yeah, fair.
I still don't know how a 3 minute traffic, like it could be 3 minutes literally, turns into like an arrest, going to jail, getting tased, all because someone doesn't want to give them the driver's license, or they don't want to sign um, uh, a piece of paper.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
And some people are just lying. Like they say the police, or police brutality, all that kind of stuff. And then I don't think these people know police have a body cam, so we can actually verify the thing that they're saying.
Yeah. Wait, so they don't have it or they do? They do, right?
No, they do.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
this
so
one lady was
it just
saying
shows
that,
how they lie and everything openly.
yeah, they said that, oh, I was only going 5 miles over the speed limit. Like when you listen to her story, it's like, man, that sounds horrible, right? And then you see the body cam footage, because she said that the officer threatened to pull her out of the car and like threatened to beat her up and put her in jail for the night, and he was like sarcastic with her. And then so they show you the body cam. He stopped her and he says, ma'am, he's like very polite to her. Says, ma'am, do you know why I stopped you? And she says, no. And, well, you were going 15 miles over the speed limit, so already she lied about that. And at the end, he was very pleasant to her. you know and then he says to her, oh yeah, I'm gonna need you to sign the ticket. And she says, why? Because it's not an admission of guilt, but in the state of Virginia, if you don't sign this, I have to take you to jail. But basically, it's basically saying that it's not, once again, he keeps saying to her, it's not an admission of guilt. It's saying, if you're going to fight the ticket, it's like a promise to me that you will go to court and take care of this ticket, or you will, or you can take care of it online, or if you want to dispute the ticket, here's my badge number. He gives her all the information and then says, but she keeps saying she's not going to sign the ticket. And he's like, well, I need you to sign the ticket. And eventually, so it's like, oh, here you go. This is the part where she said that the officer like threatened her and said, I'm gonna have to, bring you out of the car and like, I don't know, beat you. I don't know. She made it sound horrible. And he basically just says, if you don't sign the ticket, I'm gonna have to ask you to step out of the car and I'm gonna have to put you in handcuffs and have to take you to jail. That's all he said. And
Oh
she
my
still says,
God. That's
she
yeah.
still she still says, I'm not signing the ticket.
Oh
It's
no,
like-
come on.
it's
She just
like-
brought it on herself.
I
That is
know, and then
so
but he was
yeah.
very polite, and then
Yeah.
eventually he says like, "Well, this is the state law of Virginia. This is the law here. Like, if you do not comply, I really have to arrest you." And he just has a stern voice. He's polite the whole time, and then when she finally just signs it, she said like she intimidated him. I mean,
Oh gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
intimidated her, and then she just signs the ticket, and he says, "Have a nice day. Be safe when you drive." And then that's the conversation. But when you
He
listen
even
to
said
her,
have a nice day as well.
yeah, he even said, "Have a nice day." A lot of these like the videos I see of the body cam, they're like super professional. I don't know where they're getting, because there was a guy who said, "You guys are white supremacists, this and this and this," and the cop in the front who is walking up towards him is clearly Latino, and there's an Asian cop present, and the only person who is white is the cop that's trying to negotiate. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we can still hear you.
yeah. So yeah, it's like I said, I'm just really worried about because some of these people are real. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not so I
Yeah.
can't believe these people are real. Like, you know, just why don't you follow directions? Like I've been pulled over by a cop before. They just ask for your driver's license and registration. That's like standard. One guy was like breaking into someone's home and he said he didn't do anything wrong. He's like standing there like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you guys here? Well, you're breaking into someone's house.
That's so funny. It's like they catch him in their house and then he's like, I didn't do anything wrong.
It's the guy who called the cops like racist. It's like, oh, but this isn't your house, sir. So you're in someone's house. I didn't do anything wrong. You're breaking into his house. Please just put your hand on your head, turn around, and walk towards us. It's like, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there's those kind of, I mean, there's always people like that, I guess, even here probably. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think about it too much until, yeah, those stories are funny.
Yeah. And apparently there's some Americans, I think you guys will get a kick out of this. They believe that Australia doesn't exist.
Oh, no. Could you hear the people laughing in the room here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Australia is not real. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I
We're
don't
not
understand
real.
the logic. It's like,
We're a
so,
myth.
so, so where are all the Australians coming from? And they're like, and he says, um, I don't know where they're from, but I know where they're not from. And it's like, dude. And then it turns out,
Bots,
so a lot of these people are people who believe the Earth that is flat, and it makes me like feel really ashamed to be an American because I'm thinking like we have really good education, or so I thought. We have like internet. We have all the what's it called, comforts of modern technology. We have all this stuff. We're high. This stuff shouldn't even be like debatable. And then we have people in America who think the world is flat, and because the world is flat, Australia can't exist because it doesn't fit.
Oh gosh.
Or I forget what the reason. Yeah, I someone said like, yeah, if you go to a river and I walk down the river and that person is like 30 feet away from me, he doesn't disappear in the horizon line. But dude, that's not far enough.
So funny.
I mean, I really feel like they think like, a city block should be art. Like, like buildings should be like I don't know. I don't understand. I really don't. But yeah, I'm just kind
Yeah,
of shocked.
that's so funny though.
How do you convince yourself that a whole continent doesn't exist, and where are all these people coming from then? You show them a map, you show them a picture of Australia, and they still deny it. So no, it's not there. Oh, what is that? It's CGI or what? Whatever. Yeah, they're all paid actors.
I hope we're
You
well
guys
paid.
have, yeah, I hope they're well paid. Yeah, Flat Earthers in Australia as well. I guess they're everywhere.
Yeah, I want more.
Or, yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's I'm really shocked. It must be the American educational system. It's like how can oh man. Anyway, so how did you guys like trying the homework? I'm seeing some cool stuff.
I find it fun.
Cool. It's good. Yeah. The idea is cool. Yeah, it's a good exercise to do this kind of stuff. For example, because it doesn't matter what the style is, the logics don't change. Um, the uh, the character design class for Brainstorm, what they're doing is the first 5 week is so it's kind of similar. They get all the tools. Oh, they learn, it's like review in case they don't know how to do, draw hands and what they need extra review with like drawing fabric and stuff like that. But each week they have to draw a character from one franchise and put them in another franchise until the 5th week. That's when they actually do a real character design. Like that's more design oriented. So if, for example, like the first week, it was take a character, two characters from Kubo. Let's brainstorm. And then put them in Mark of the Ninja. So they're allowed to change the designs. They just need to fit into the world of Mark of the Ninja. The second week was to take One Punch Man and then put him in the world of Pixar. And this week it's to take two characters because we just went over Drapery again, to take two characters from Samurai Showdown and put them in Chris Sanders' world or the Lilo and Stitch world. So they have to adapt the style and learn like how one style uses liner, uses like the basics, and learn their shape language, just so that they start thinking or get used to shapes that they're not comfortable with or they're just not used to seeing. Because that helps you grow as an artist and also gives you what's it called? Extra, like a bigger shape language. Because we'll
Yeah.
when we create shapes, we just create the shapes that we know and that we're comfortable with. So it's good to try and adapt someone else's style, just for maybe like an exercise, or you think that style is cool, just so that you start trying shapes or different shape combinations and different proportions. Because there's a lot of proportions or that you might think that, or we might think that doesn't work, but somebody makes it work, and then we can look at it and kind of copy it and figure out why it works, and then it becomes a part of our shape language. So that's what they're doing. Oops.
Yeah, I might actually when this finished, I might actually give that a shot myself.
You can do it right now, all of you, like just for fun. You guys can do it because when it comes to character design, it's difficult to, especially if there's a lot of students, it's difficult to critique everybody and say, I mean, unless it's like technical issues. Um, when we see like if everybody has their own independent story and their own individual version, it's hard to judge is it a good character design or not, because unless they tell you about it. Whereas if we have to take a character, like their final project is 5 weeks, they know it, they're already thinking about it, is they have to take a character from Naruto, and will decide as a class and put them in Ghost of Tsushima, that world. So there are a lot of things they have to consider. Number one, it has to be like more historical and realistic. So, if they decide to design a character that has a lot of magic, there's really no magic in Ghost of Tsushima. Like you can't take a character like Gaara and just put him in there. Number one, the costumes don't fit. It doesn't fit that world. So the idea is whatever they design, it has to feel like it would be believable or it belongs in that world. Does that make sense? So that makes it very easy to judge, is this a good character or a bad character? Like if you take you guys all know Samurai Jack, that style?
Yep.
So if I take a manga character and I just throw him in there and it's a manga style, and knowing what Samurai Jack is, and we don't change anything, of course it doesn't fit. So that would be technically considered it's bad design. So it makes it very objectively, it makes it very easy to judge. So I think it's a really good exercise to just do that. So you guys can do that like on your own. You can try to think about like, okay, well, I like you might see like a video game you like, take some of the characters in there and put them in something like a little bit different. So you might take let's say you like Halo, take Master Chief and put him in the world of Fable. Like, what would that look like? Yeah, that's cool too. As long as as long as they read as the samurai warrior characters, that's a good design. And they look like they belong in that world. So one of the things I'm still kind of seeing, it's better, is doesn't matter what your shape is or what your character is. We still need to connect the neck. Oops. To the rib cage. Oh, it should be screen sharing. So that was.
Yeah, we can't see your screen. Hang on.
Let me reshare on. This happened this morning. Well, we're recording. Grab the Camtasia, Zoom. Okay, cool. Let's doing it again. That's screen 2. Can you see my screen? Oh, sorry.
Sweet. We can see a screen. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, nice.
Very cool. So yeah, so this was Mark of the Ninja.
Yeah, cool.
Sick. Kugo characters, and then they have to take One Punch Man, put him in Pixar. And this week is take
Are these
Samurai
yours?
Showdown. Yeah, these are mine. These are the demos from class.
Yeah, awesome.
So, and this week is to take the characters from Samurai Showdown, the 2 characters, and put them in Chris Enders' world. So it's like Lilo and Stitch, that kind of style.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
It's a lot of fun doing this. Like I said, you learn different line weights or treatment of line. You also learn different like shape combinations that you probably don't normally use. And if it's good, it becomes part of your visual vocabulary. So here, like I said, it doesn't matter what the style is, still get in the habit of, like I said, it's better than last time, but it's getting better. Just make sure you connect the neck to the rib cage. And when you draw a face, still think about the center line. I'll zoom in. The main idea is even when we stylize a drawing, we want to make sure that it looks good and it reads very well from far away without any detail. Like the shape should be clear and appealing. with the least amount of detail. So find the center, block out where the eyes are going to be. The reason we want to do this is so that when we build our eye socket, the eyes don't feel flat. We find our crosshair, want to pull that eye socket out. Does that make sense? Cool. The only time this goes out the window is if you're designing characters that don't have that. Like if you're designing characters that are deliberately flat. Is it Dexter's Laboratory? Like characters like that, or I think even SpongeBob kind of has a little bit more of an eye socket. Anything that draws eyes like this kind of has an eye socket. There's the ears. Just figure out that skull shape. I think it's worth the time. It doesn't matter what that what the skull shape is going to be. Just make sure to figure one out so that when you design the hair shapes, it's very easy to wrap it around the head. Your nose. Draw the neck. It's nice you added a twist. You made a note of that twist. Figure out the pit of the neck. Design that center line. Maybe the pelvis is somewhere here. The idea is even when you stylize, you still want to keep everything simple and make sure the proportions look appealing without any details. So it looks like this character, this is like one of the characters that don't really have like a prominent collarbone. That's how it looks right now. Let's figure out the average width. Let's figure out the shape of this person's torso. It's got maybe a pillow shape. There's the pelvis. And loosely figure out how the neck is going to blend into our fish. So this looks like a heavy set character. And then we can start messing around with the leg proportion. Let's figure out if he has a very small hip. All I'm just doing is extending the pelvis down just a little bit. This is where the stomach will insert into that box. It's like that body type that has, you know, basically they don't have a butt. The stomach outgrows the waistline. We can design the leg shapes. So he's standing pretty straight. Okay. Before I design the leg shape, I like to figure out the length of the leg. Get the gesture of the leg. That looks pretty good. So he has no butt. So maybe just goes straight down from here. Cuts in just a little bit. Feet's facing forward. If this is his heel, I need to find the heel on the other side. Back of his pelvis, and there's his other leg. I'm just locating his heel so I can place his feet. Does that make sense? Once I have this, I can go in, add his arms. Let's say let's make his face match. So he's, if he's a heavier set man, probably he won't have such a prominent jaw. Maybe he'll be a lot softer. Maybe he'll even have, maybe he really doesn't have a jaw or a chin. He has the double chin. So it just becomes like one smooth shape here. Still need to find out where the bottom of his chin is though. Just gonna mark that off. Probably play around with his shoulders a bit more. Probably make that really round. Here's his, this is where his arm starts. So as you can see here, even though I'm drawing a character that doesn't really have a collarbone, I still want to figure out that head to neck connection. Here's his arms. Just draw his hands. I just want to figure out the length of his arms first. Maybe he's wearing a suit, or that shirt that he's wearing. Yeah. The gesture of his hands. Just draw that giant noodle. Let's have his hands proper, not cartoony. It's a heavier set person, so maybe he has like the sausage fingers. It's pinky. Exaggerate the arc in his back. Basically, you want to keep your drawings malleable so you can easily change stuff. Just push and pull stuff around very easily. There's his thumb on the other side. Sausage fingers. Index finger. Gesture of his other fingers. Can design his leg. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of muscle in his leg. They get a little bit skinnier as they head down. You can use little ovals to figure out which way the legs are the knees are facing. And generally, whichever way that your feet will face the same direction as your knees. You can add an interlock for the feet. Treat the feet like a box for now. This calf muscles. It's important for us to get very comfortable with using the form ideas, not necessarily like what muscle is this and what muscle is that. That does help, but we're making up shapes like this. It helps to know, be very comfortable with implementing form ideas, the stuff that we learn, like interlocks, wedging, closure, all that stuff. So we can pick and choose which one we need. Add a little bit more for his crotch. His elbow is facing this way. Basically, it's just a beanbag shape. You tilt him back just a little bit more. Does that make sense? So make sure you blend 1, and 2, because this will give you the connections for the other areas. And then if you want to add close is another thing. Pay more attention to the overall shape. You want to just draw enough of the body so you can easily design the clothes on top. So let's say this man is wearing a suit. And also so you can control the proportions of having small, medium, and large. There's this jacket. Sleeve on the other side. Maybe has a t-shirt underneath. There's the collar. We can design the pants. Maybe he's wearing just a regular shirt, and his belly will overlap his belt. Pants that come down. Maybe he's wearing like khaki pants. Khaki pants tend to be pretty straight up and down. It doesn't really have, especially if someone's standing, tapers. There's the crotch. and khakis have that crisp line going down the middle. And there's his dress shoes. He's got the socks with the little diamond pattern on it. Does that make sense? Drapery is very easy to understand if we understand what's underneath. So yeah, and don't be afraid to push your gesture. This guy's hiking up his pants. He's maybe he's arcing his back even more. It's good you're getting the head tilt. Looking away. He's really tilting, kind of arcing. You want to caricature these like people or their actions. Does that make sense? Cool. Get into the one. So remember, even if you draw chibi characters like this, or just get in the habit of looking for that center line and complete a head shape. It doesn't matter what your head shape is going to be. Make sure it's just a clear shape. So like this one, let's say we're drawing like a baby type chibi character. You don't have to use the ball. I just like to start with a circle because it always kind of forces me to think about the skull. And it just gives me right away, circle. I start the drawing. Does that make sense?
Brianna, are you there? Oh yeah, nice.
There's my head shape. It's been kind of nice looking at Chris Sanders. A little bit shocked when the character class. I thought, because I gave them two choices. It was either between draw Samurai Shodown characters in Chris Sanders' world or Scott Campbell. I thought they were going to pick Scott Campbell, honestly, because Danger Girl more realistic. But everybody picked Chris Sanders. There's the eye line. Still get that head tilt. You're adding a neck. All right. So there's the head leaning forward. Here's the other side of the neck. Body is arcing. Control H. I'm guessing this is a female because of the way the hips are moving. So we got the right side higher. You see, like, it doesn't matter what my body shape is. I'm still trying to figure out the center line. So when I start adding the arms and everything, it's going to make a little bit more sense. So it's easier to connect. Okay, so the body is probably tilting this way. Okay, so tilt my rib cage over. You can figure out where the crotch is going to be. Can add my legs. The other leg is going back. I drew my legs very thick, so probably I might not get a negative shape back there. Go back just a little bit. So since I have stage 1 and stage 2, now when it comes time to add the arms and the shoulders, it's pretty easy because I know where the collarbone is. This arm is going back. Giving them that Mega Man, those big limbs. We can just connect the arms or blend our shapes. Just the other shoulder. Just drawing through so I can so I know where the shoulder is. Block off where the hand's going to be. And the bubble fingers. Probably this is a good place to use 4 fingers instead of the 5. Index finger will be in there. I'm going to move things over just a little bit because I don't get a tangency in the head. Four fingers. Does that make sense? I can make the arms a little bit shorter. I'll move the head.
You're logged into Collaborate, yeah? You can see the chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Let's move the head over here. Yeah, that looks better. And then you can just plot out the eyes. Maybe I want to accentuate the hips. So this is where I can just go ahead and cut in. Since I have a center line, it makes things a lot easier. And since I figured out the skull shape, I can easily plot out the hair. I don't know what kind of hair I want to give this character, but does that make sense? Cool. So just make sure you have something for like a clear head shape so you can have the center line, and then connect your center, your head and neck plus the shoulders to the body. Don't worry about, like, one of the things that make like connecting the neck to the body even more difficult is if you start treating it like form like this. If we already start doing this, it makes it really hard. Because now we have this top plane here that we need to figure out how all this is going to work. Just draw a big overall shape. So, like I'll do, someone leaning back. So draw a head shape. So see they're looking down. Let's say you're drawing in this more chibi or, like a more cute style. So there's the face. There's the ears. There's your head shape. Your mask. So you can easily fit your, well, if you decide to draw hair later on. You can figure out the neck. So there's a twist. So probably in a view like this, I won't see a lot of the neck because the head, it looks like the body's leaning forward. Let's say the neck is somewhere in here. Say the center of the neck is roughly about there. Just kind of drawing through, figure out that center line, leaning back. I can figure out the shoulders. Shoulders are wrapping around. I can easily draw the body shape now, or at least get the average width. Person's leaning back. And correct my center line. This is where the rib cage gets cut. can draw the fish shape on the inside because I know where the first rib is, or at least where the neck hole is going to be, and then I could fit in my rib cage or my fish. It's my perspective. Here's my pelvis. Find the crotch. Oh, that looks weird. Once I figure this out, I can easily start attaching the legs. Doesn't matter what the legs are doing. So let's say this leg is coming over here. Find the back. There's the foot. Here's the other foot. Does that make sense? And be careful of drawing the just this whole area as just a cylinder at the top. It makes it very difficult to understand the collarbone or the chest region. I mean the shoulder girdle. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my brain. The reason is because the clavicle travels. You know, it's going to wrap around our rib cage, and it's going to help describe the surface of that rib cage. When we treat it like this, we're basically saying this whole thing is a cylinder, and that makes it really difficult to envision attaching a ball here on the side. And understanding that this is its own plane, and that the rib cage is its own plane. Any questions so far?
Well, I think it makes fair sense. Like it's good.
Cool. There's the hands. This will be foreshortened a little bit. So yeah, it'll be the thumb. Fingers coming up. relate one arm to the other side. So the idea is, the way I'm drawing right now, and I'm caricaturizing. This is the same idea as I treat real drawing or realistic drawing exactly the same way. Even the shapes I'm using are very similar. The only difference is how much form I start adding to my shape, or how complex I start making my shape. Chest. Once I have all this, I can even edit my shape even more to suit whatever purpose I want. So maybe she's walking downstairs or something very carefully, and something's crumbling and stuff is falling on her. But just make sure, it doesn't matter what your face shape is going to be. Like, here's a beanbag, just define the center line. Give it a good crosshair, because this immediately gives us the orientation of the head. And because you have a center line, it helps us to be able to build stuff on top of it. The ball of the mouth. Brow bone. Since I have the center line, brow bone here, brow bone here. This is mask shape, like a jelly bean or something for his face. Okay. Go to the next one.
Yep, makes sense.
Next one. This is Duncan's. Grab. Oh, no problem.
Hello.
A lot of what I say to you guys for figure drawing, it's gonna be like the same stuff over and over and over and over again. So what I'll do today is I'll show you the same thing again, except I'll really stress stage 1 and stage 2. If you want to draw cartoony, like those areas that they still need to work. Like no matter what the style, we can't escape it. Unless we're like drawing in a really flat kind of style. But these are nice, Duncan. Just you can push the shapes even more. You can simplify a lot of this stuff even more. Or just because you're drawing cartoony, like you can really play around with it. For example, like this lady who's walking.
Yeah, I find like with fat women, it's like I find that whenever I add folds, it feels like it's I don't know. I like my cartoony version of an overweight woman more. I felt like the shapes were working nicer, but I don't know how to do that in a realistic style, I guess.
It's the same thing. It's always going to be if your shape is reading, then you don't have to worry about all that stuff. If you want to add like these folds, where are you? These folds that I draw, they're not random. They're to maximize form, at least for me, because I want, it's flat, so I want to show that it's a box. So for example, right here, Oh, thank you. This is a demo. Because
Yeah.
the idea is,
They look awesome.
the idea is shown here. We're gonna go over this stuff probably next week, and then we'll go into legs. I think we should do
Sweet.
that, and then legs.
Awesome.
There are key principles that always need to work in a character design, when you're drawing a figure, anything, and it's always going to be gesture, shape, and proportion. And although like I used to teach hand drawing like this, I thought this is way too hard. But like, and you start getting you start concentrating on information that's not important. So I'll say this again in the class, and I'll go over it a little bit more thoroughly. But basically, to draw a hand, all you need to do is learn how to draw or get the gesture of the whole arm going into the hand. So, and this is for Chinese students. So the translator wrote noodle for me. You basically think about a noodle, and the noodle represents your index finger, your middle finger, and your ring finger. And we basically just add on the thumb and the pinky, which kind of creates this glove shape. And when we think about that glove shape, the glove shape is actually kind of more like a box. When we think about these interlocks. And we just need to think of every finger, every section of the finger having a rubber band wrapped around it. Because when one finger moves, it affects the others. So we're looking for the gesture across all the fingers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we're drawing realistically or cartoony, we need to get that relationship working. Then on top of that, when we start adding our wrinkles, if we're trying to describe form, for like this one, this is a very cartoony style. I don't want it to be completely flat. The hand is basically a box. So when I draw my wrinkles, I want it to reflect that. So you see how this detail stops right at that corner?
Yeah, I see it.
And then I get a wrinkle. The wrinkle is letting me know that, hey, there's a flesh here, and this is in front, but that wrinkle also stops at that corner. We have flesh that folds. That wrinkle is describing the top plane, that surface.
And with all the wrinkles on that plane, it all stops at that corner, right? Like, cause that's where the plane ends.
Yeah, I'm just trying to organize it, because if I start,
Yeah.
if I decide to cross,
It starts making it look messy.
it makes it look messy, but it's also because I want your eye to just flow through like this. If I add something here, your eye gets blocked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so even this end of my box here, just wrapping around, I'm just describing a box where this knuckle ends. That's the corner of my box. And your palm, this part right here, the ball, that basically breaks off into its own, not really its own plane, but it's like a book. Because that's how your fingers are going to fold. So there's just a plane change there. And I'm using that also to describe the center of my hand.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So when you add wrinkles, they need to they can't be just superfluous detail that we just add just for the sake of adding, details. What we want to do is we want them to work for us. So like here, this is describing the center of my box. I have this repeat so people can understand that, my viewer can understand this is a box. I add this line here. I don't have to have it, but it kind of helps to say that, hey, this is a front plane. And then I use the nails to also mimic that front plane.
So wrinkles, details, and stuff like that, they all need to reinforce the form idea and not obstruct the flow.
Yes.
Okay.
You want them
yeah,
to
makes sense.
you want them to mean something. Otherwise, they just become like, it's called floating details, where they're just not describing anything. They're just there.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. I think I've done a lot of those.
That's normal. We all do that, like when we first start, or when we're just drawing, because a lot of times, I mean, I keep mentioning this, but it's true. The more confident you guys get with like rendering and doing more technical type stuff, um, that stuff stops impressing you. The technical aspect doesn't impress you anymore. It's the stuff like this the even basic stuff, like really basic stuff will start to really like, wow, like this is what makes the image. It's not the rendering. Rendering is just something, it's like it's relaxing, but it really is mostly it's a technical skill. Like the way you design everything, that's where all the artistic stuff happens.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mark always jokes about this. Back in the day, he would say like, "Oh yeah, if you create an image like this and you draw a bunch of shapes, right? Like I do this, and I write two, and I create more shapes, and I write one, and then I just make the appropriate tones. Someone can just fill it in for you."
Yeah, yeah,
So like here, you have someone, you know, uh, with their head up and they're walking, and you're drawing this really heavy set woman. Really play around with the size relationship of your head, your hands, everything. But before that, we want to get that overall gesture going. So we have the head. Start with the circle. I'm gonna give her a big head and like really short limbs. I'm already making a decision to do that. It's fun to do that because basically what happens is no matter what, you're sticking to that idea and you're trying to find a solution for that. Does that make sense? It's like, okay, I want to draw a lady with a big head, kind of a bigger body and shorter limbs. No matter what, I have to make that work. You're giving yourself kind of these restrictions.
Could you repeat the solution bit again? Like you said, something about, yeah.
Oh, when you're designing, we need some kind of restriction. So like the restriction will be, I'm going to give her a big head, maybe like a bigger body, but I'm going to give her short limbs, and I
Right.
have to figure out a solution for that. Those are my limitations.
And you would decide that like before before because before sort of uh drawing it.
Yeah, because I'll look at the person and well, you're I mean, I really mean this. You guys have to learn how to, when you caricature and you have fun, channel your inner child. The children are honest. They're like really mean. You need to channel that.
Yeah.
It's like, if you have a big nose or something, a kid will just point it out. It's like, oh, you're really old. You have a big nose, or
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Your hair is weird or something. They just say that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, they would.
so
Yeah.
when you look at someone, if you can channel that, it's just like, oh wow, this lady has like, she's big. She has a big head. Okay, well, that's one of the things I want to get across. So I'm gonna give her a big head, a bigger body, and short limbs. I just erase because um, I'm on the wrong layer. And get in the habit of just blending your shapes. Okay, so her head's pointing up. I don't know what her exact head shape is going to be yet, but I still want a center line. This is why when you work from observation, it helps you look at the person. You're like, okay, they give me a set of lines I can use, or like not a set of shapes that I can start with. Someone has like a jelly bean type shape face. That's usually the shape I'll start with. Maybe she's like really trying to be like a highbrow person, so I'll give her a highbrow. She's got tiny eyes. She's got like a small nose.
Yeah, the character's reading better already. Like I can see that.
Like there's technical drawing and then there's like designing, and then we need both.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of artists that can do technical stuff, but then you're like, hey, tell a story, and they can't do it. Give me a drawing that's more interesting. They can't really do it. Like they can beautifully render a figure. I think that all of us can learn how to do.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
'Cause really, rendering is just, like a figure is just literally follow the steps. If your foundation is strong for stuff like that, like I know how to control my form, I know anatomy, is just follow the steps. And after it's just about how much are you going to render, how far, how what's the kind of finish you want to take, or not how finish you want to take, how far are you going to take the finish. Okay, so I haven't decided on her hair yet, but let's get the gesture of her body. Find her center line. Here's her body shape. Just a giant beanbag. This is her neck, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's going to be
It's
my,
like
my neck shape.
it's like blended in.
Yeah, she doesn't really have a, you can think of it like those characters that don't have necks. Like if you look at like Tom and Jerry or um I don't know, this Wile E. Coyote or like Bugs Bunny, a lot of times they don't draw a neck. It just kind of continues into their or you guys know the Flintstones?
Yeah, yeah, I know it.
Yeah, it's like that. They don't really have much of a neck. It just kind of blends into their body. So I just want to figure out how I'm going to connect her legs. And remember, I said I want to give her short limbs. So her crotch is going to be somewhere down here, and there's her legs. There's her feet.
Those feet are so tiny. The legs are so tiny.
That's the point. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
no, no,
get
no. I
this to
think it's
work.
good. I think it's good. It's so pushed.
And that's the thing. A lot of times when we design proportions, we're usually somewhere in the middle all the time. It's better to push
Yeah.
it one way or the other, like start at the extreme and then kind of dial it back. There's her other leg. I'm gonna move that
Yeah,
over
and
too.
it's fun as well playing with it like that. 'Cause I think
Yeah,
yeah, like those ones where like I found my most satisfying ones out of my 20 were like the ones which I pushed the most in a way.
yeah. But that's the thing. If you can make that transition into drawing realistically, because it's the same thing. The mindset is the same.
So transition that into drawing realistically, what do you mean? Like into like even if I was drawing realistic, I'll still push the shapes
Yeah, you'll
Yeah,
push whatever is
okay.
interesting to you right away. You'll just start doing it. So it's like when you draw realistically, you'll be pushing like, okay, well, this person, I really like this person's, I don't know, maybe you like the posture. So like, okay, I'm really gonna push the posture. Because remember, always remember that all of you, when you do a drawing, no one's gonna see your reference if you're doing a reference drawing.
Yeah, true.
They're just gonna see your final drawing. So if your final drawing is interesting, then you did a good job. If you can one up your reference, that's what we're aiming for. If you're drawing a model, you want to draw, you want to one up the model.
Makes sense.
So this is not going to make sense, but I'm going to put our arms down here. Here's her arm. There's her hand.
That is so good. No, no, I love the character. Like I think it pushes like it took what I had and amped it out heaps. That's what I was going for.
So I just want to figure out, oh, I just had an overlap here. Because, she's got the pillow arms. We can add her breasts because since we know the central line, we can easily start building some breasts. No, I'm not drawing her naked, but if I want to add clothes, it helps to know where her breasts are. So if I want to add those shapes. And there's her other breast. It's going to sit on top. This I'll probably cover up with by using pants. I mean, the shapes I'm using right now, you can use it for like a bear, just drawing like a bear walking or I don't know. There's many uses. I think I need to bring one of her legs closer together. It's just because it's a form thing. They're not connecting properly. So probably should be somewhere here.
Wait, what do you mean though? Like, it wasn't
When
connected?
I look at her crotch, there's more leg on the right side than there is on the left side.
Right,
I'm
okay,
judging.
yeah.
So that's why I'm moving her leg over, and I still want her to have that pinch because the fat has nowhere to go. So just kind of, and I wanted to say that this it's like a water balloon. It's getting sloshed over here. So all the water is starting to push this way. So that's why I have instead of having the curve peak in the middle, I have it peaking at the top.
And that's to emphasize how much how pushed up that fat is, right? Like if
Yeah,
you peak it up, it kind of makes it go like it's squished up a bit more.
it's because of gravity. That's all it is. Put the hand here. There's her finger. She's got the sausage fingers. There's her hand. And there's her foot. She has like the little nubs for feet. just thinking their stomach is just so big that it kind of overlaps that leg like this. Doesn't really get affected that much. And we can go ahead and start adding, like her clothes. Sleeve. It's her shirt. She's like a tourist. White t-shirt. She's got shorts on. I think if we take her legs and we shrink them or squash them, it might work even better.
Wait, squash the legs even more?
Yeah, just
Oh,
pull it up
yeah.
like this. I think that looks better.
Yeah. She just has to waddle.
Yeah, just waddle it.
Yeah.
Just really
Love
have
it.
fun with stuff like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
And
no, I love it.
Here's
It's
their.
cool.
Actually, no, she's a lady, so just gonna move her down a little bit. So maybe she has a sun hat.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, she needs a
Yes.
camera, like on her neck or something.
Yeah, camera, and then she has she has her hair.
I love it.
What else? Yeah, and she's got her bag coming down here. Might have to get rid of this, so it's like that. So it's nice and smooth. Simpler silhouette. She's got her bag. She's got some beaded necklace or something.
I was about to say pearls.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I could see her wearing that definitely.
And that's basically it. And maybe she'll have sneakers on. The more comfortable you guys can get with just practicing getting these ideas, I think the ability to draw more realistic figures, it comes a little bit more naturally, I think. Because when you do stuff like this, you're not just simply trying to draw a realistic figure. What we end up doing is we start practicing the ideas that we actually learn. We're like executing those ideas.
Like interlock, wedging, and closer, stuff like that.
Yeah, in this case, most of our ideas here are just closing off and overlaps. That's all we're really using. But the thing is, like when you start drawing a real figure, you'll at least you've been messing with it. So when it comes to drawing the real figure, you'll kind of be like, oh, I can just use this here. I can use this here. I can use this here.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's more about getting comfortable with the ideas. Oh, never mind. I was gonna give her polka dot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I guess the main thing is to push push it even more
Yeah.
and yeah.
You're drawing a lady, so it's what, like, for all of you, if you're drawing a woman, we need to get across that she's a woman, right? And in the beginning, it's okay to push in the hips, pull out, give her more curves. Just to make all that stuff obvious. She's a woman.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be a lot more subtle.
I was thinking with her, she could be like anorexic. How would you kind of draw like how do you go about that?
Okay, I'll draw it on
Oh,
the
you
next
can
print.
just do like one arm or something. I just want to, yeah, don't want
No,
to
I'll
take
just
up.
I'll do the full thing. It's because it's a shape language, and I think I can get to everybody's today. I want you guys to do the same thing. Like I like really I sound like a broken record, but I even in the like advanced character drawing class or something, I'll mention the same stuff. There's a reason why I go over the first week draw body types and then draw put this franchise and this franchise. So like I said, this week since we went over drapery, I want them to draw characters that have drapery, and they don't need to make up anything. It's like if you look through Samurai Showdown, there's lots of opportunities to play with drapery. So that's why I say, you pick a character from there and then do it in this different style. So basically you have to do two things. One is you have to draw drapery. So if you want to draw somebody wearing the clothes that the characters are wearing, we need to know how that fabric folds. And then second, it's how do you caricature that, or how do you simplify that so it fits in Chris Sanders' style? Because we can't just copy it and then draw like a realistic fold in a Chris Sanders drawing, because then it doesn't fit. You have to look at the fold and then redesign it so that it looks like a fold that you would see in a Chris Sanders cartoon or something.
Yeah.
So here, try Tran. So you drew, is this no, not a monkey. Is it I'm forgetting what that thing is called. Is it a bear or a sloth? It's a bear. All right, it doesn't matter. You can just play with the proportions. Bears usually have like the smaller lower limb, so I like that. But let's say you're drawing like a skinny anorexic bear, or a skinny person in general. There's many ways of doing it. One, getting across skinny. Usually, this is a trope, but usually the anorexic look is from fashion models, right? So they tend to be very long.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to use portions from like something like The Incredibles. So you have her head. She'll be tall. I'll do a bear version too, so you can show you how to play around with the shapes. We have neck. Just making the neck ridiculously long. Not ridiculously long, but longer than I would a normal.
It does feel longer though. I guess it's because it's thin, so it makes it feel like the proportion is longer than than width or something. It does definitely feel longer for skinny people.
Yeah, I feel sorry for them. And yeah, they tend to be really tall though. A lot of the models, or they're not, you know, like average height. Then we have her body. Get the gesture of her. They're not gonna have like really wide hips. You can see I correct the center line. When I modify the shape, I modify the center line. I'm even squashing her ribcage shape or the fish even more. She probably won't have much, you know, there's not much fat on her. Everything will kind of droop. There's her silhouette of her breast. There's your hip. Literally, she's a stick. If you want to accentuate that she has like bony joints, that's where I'm reserving my.
Like you do that in the second pass, right? Like you know how you add in
Yeah,
the bumps and stuff, you do that as the bumps.
yeah, because I in the beginning I just want to make sure, like I mentioned earlier, I just draw this for like legs because I want to make sure that the I have a good length for the leg before I start adding some details.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's her other leg. Even her shoulders pointing up. Very long. That's her elbow. I'm just marking it off. Got the long fingers. You guys have to just work it really small, like about the size I'm working in. So you start paying attention. So we're kind of forced to pay attention to the big overall shape. We can't draw much detail. Basically, if you can't draw that detail, at this size or at a smaller size, it means that that thing is not important.
Yeah, makes sense.
Standard upper arm length. Standard upper arm length is usually roughly the break in your arm is going to be a little bit past your 10th rib. I mean, on Eric, on the regular person. So roughly about where the 10th rib is where we're going to get a break in the arm. And then we just take that measurement and drop it again. I do that for all my limbs. It just kind of prevents us so we don't end up drawing limbs that look like this, where we have an upper arm like this and then a lower arm that looks like this, and then we have our hands unless we're doing that on purpose, unless you're drawing like an insect or something. When you draw people, generally we want all our limbs to be able to fold into itself.
Let's say you can eat, right? Because if your
So you
arms,
can,
yeah, because
well,
you
so
bring the
you,
food into your mouth or something. Oh.
yeah, and also when you sit, when you guys squat or you do like an Asian squat, or just squat in general, our heels line up with our butt. Everything should be able to fold into itself. It's a
Right. Yeah.
general
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah.
It's just a general rule. I'll do this with their face. That's how you would kind of treat a skinny person. There's just one solution, and then you go in if you want to say, hey, this person is really bony. It'll even show when you draw their fingers, but you can go into their knees and be like, well, here's their kneecap. That's their calf muscle, that little bump. Their feet, we can just keep it really skinny like this. Here's the other kneecap. Here's the bump. Elbows are very sharp. When we get into the fingers, we can start at drawing bony fingers, but from this
But
from
like
this
in,
height.
but
Go
like
ahead.
in this kind of style, I feel like because I tried adding bony fingers to one of my ones, and it just felt like because of the stylization that I want to try and go for, it feels like it's too much detail. Do you ever find that, or how do you moderate that? Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, like hold on, what the heck?
could you hear what I said just then, or
Yeah, like with the
yeah,
bony fingers, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's usually not a it's usually not the like when you're drawing hands or on a character, hands are small. So one thing we can do is, if we want to accentuate how bony the hands are, yeah, just show prominently show the knuckles. But if you have, we don't accentuate every finger because it's just like I think I talked about this here, where you draw the dominant eye. If you draw both eyes with the same amount of details, they both want attention. We usually accentuate one eye more, especially if when you're drawing realistically. So one eye can go back and we pay attention to more of one eye. If we add too many details to each finger is saying I want attention. So let's say if you have like a character who's, let's say has their index finger up, and we're gonna follow the same rule of I mentioned about just they're skinny, so we make their fingers longer. Their limbs are long. Let's see, we're doing that, or they're bony. So first, I want to figure out the big overall shape. The gesture. We're drawing somebody with longer fingers, or skinnier fingers. Get bony at the wrist. Figure out the length of their finger. So the finger I need to really show or accentuate is I'll probably accentuate that pointed finger.
Yeah. Because that's where you're drawing the eye. The
Yeah, so I'll
focus.
have,
Yeah.
yeah, just have a little bit more detail. So it'll be locked. I'll show you the middle knuckle. There's that bony finger. And these other fingers, they're just kind of support, like, you know, if it's a movie, it's a supporting actor. They get played down.
Yeah.
I don't know how much detail you want to add, but let's say we want to add maybe a knuckle. We can see the thumb a little bit.
And that would be like even if like say if like the whole hand comes out, right? And you know she spreads her fingers and stuff, like you would only draw like one or two where it's more bonier than the others still, just to create that hierarchy in detail as well, right?
Yes, even if it's like, yeah, if she's got her hands spread open,
Yeah.
they'll, you know, probably the hands that are closest to us are the ones I need to pay attention to.
Yeah, awesome. Makes sense. Yeah, because I think I was trying to add in like all the figures. It just looked like way too much detail, and then I just look at that and it just doesn't fit the style that I was doing.
It's fine. It just takes time, especially like if you look at how artists paint hands, you'll notice they don't paint every hand equally.
Yeah, yeah,
You just paint like one with a little bit more detail, and the rest of the fingers usually get grouped. Like the one thing you guys don't want to do when you draw hands is don't do this. If you're drawing realistically, if you're drawing cartoony, you can kind of get away with it. Depends on the style, but you know, when you're a kid and you draw someone making a fist, you draw like a comb, basically. Don't do that. Where each finger has equal amounts of um, the line is equal, like the amount of pressure is equal all the way across. It looks like a cone or it looks like a bar. We don't want to do that.
yeah, makes sense.
So I like this here. Just we need to push the shape. You know, connect your stage 1 to stage 2. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you know, like if the fish shape might not work, we might just rely on overlaps. So you know, whatever your head shape is going to be. So let's say here, you know, like you got the small head. So let's push that small head. There's the top, down plane. There's a snout. Looks like you're drawing anthropomorphic bears. Just quickly trying to figure out that snout shape. Whenever I feel like I'm adding too much detail, I'll always go back and I'll fill it in or I'll simplify it again. There's the ears. Here's the nose. And then, his overall body language is the gesture is bending. Just that is like a simple overlap. There's the shoulders. Draw my beanbag shape, but I want to first get across that he's arcing back. So if I have to draw kind of well, I'm still thinking about that bow tie shape. I'm just trying to make sure I get my character arcing his back. Does that make sense so far?
Tree?
Cool.
Oh, no, Jessica's is here. Yeah, it does. I say yeah too.
And then we can start adding our secondary. We can start drawing that fish shape or an overlap. Let's say we're drawing a bear that has a bit of a belly. Since I know roughly where the crotch is going to be, I know where the belly is going to fit in. Figure out the perspective. And draw the legs. So since I know where the crotch is, I can start figuring out how I'm going to attach the legs. Oh, pull the legs out this way. To the other side. I'm having a hard time seeing it. Okay. Start playing around with it, the size of the head. So low, I guess I think I mentioned this before. I just really love this about Photoshop. I can just transform things at will. And just traditionally, I'd have to draw this like 3 or 4 times. Really push that arm shape. Thinking about, if his arms are really that big, can he even bend it like that? It's like how that kid's bending it. He probably can't. Have to come out quite a bit. start designing the leg shapes. Just keep it straight. Or something like that. Does that make sense? Just push the shapes and the gestures a bit more. I want to try something with this. Might have to redraw the whole thing. I have to, because I'm getting a. Sorry, just want to figure something out real quick. I often do stuff like this all the time. Back.
Are you playing with the proportion of his torso or the shape
Yeah.
of his torso?
Yeah, just quickly scribbling something out. And his tail would be like over here, probably somewhere. I can't see the tail then. I can attach the arms. Yeah, I think I'm just I think I'm gonna have the bear. Problem right now is I don't know what he's doing. Maybe I'll just have him just leaning forward. My head shape. Already connected the head. Okay, I think I got it. Just gonna have him like dropping down or something. Sorry, this happens all the time when I'm sketching. I'll see a shape, I find it kind of appealing, and I just start to draw, and then I'll get a story out of it. I'm guessing he jumped and he's like coming down on something like a drop kick. Right? He's just jumping down. Shoulder over here. So something like this. I'm gonna add a tone to it and then I'll quickly ink it. Point of this is even though we experiment with our well, basically I just don't want you to be afraid of doing a bad drawing, or at least with the proportion, but just make sure you connect stage 1 and stage 2. Get our black. All right. Years. Yeah, don't skip steps in the beginning. Like so many problems or issues can be resolved. Just take a few minutes and resolve like simple stuff. Like I said, most of the stuff that uh, we end up needing to fix in a drawing, they're never something hard. It's always like something really simple that we just skipped in the beginning. Oops. So when you do this kind of sketch and you're inking, you kind of can't give a crap. Like when you're inking. If you want the more confident fluid lines. Because if you're wondering how a lot of those artists get the nice lines that look flawless, is because if they just do it very carefree most of the time. because the underdrawing, they plan it all in the underdrawing. Do they have like black feet? I don't know, whatever. I didn't plan it that way, but it looks like he's standing on the finger.
That's one strong anorexic finger.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Just make sure you connect your stage 1 and your stage 2. It doesn't matter what, like, if you just think about it as just straight form, let's say this is some kind of head shape, like a cylinder. We need to make sure that everything we draw just kind of easily like connects. Ball, cylinder, box, another cylinder. Here's our crotch. Ball, another ball. Be like a disc shape or something. Ball, cylinder, box, box. Does that make sense? And this is not anatomy. This is just connecting stuff together.
And just before we move on, could we do a 5-minute break? I just need to go to the bathroom.
Sure, I'll have a break. I'll get through the rest of the crit, and then the case today is just mostly crits. Then next week we'll go over hands. Really want you to focus on getting these ideas across, or just making sure your stage 1 and stage 2 are connecting.
Yep, makes sense. Thanks.
All right, 5-minute break. Let's grab everybody's. Regular figure drawing. No, this one. Aaron and Ellis. Okay. Ellis. Okay, necessary. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, I'm back.
All right, you're back. All right. So let's continue with the quiz. Is everybody else back?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure about the chat. As
Alright,
in
so-
to the people who are online. But yeah, I think we can start.
So when you draw your rib cages or that fish shape, make sure your fish shape is full. Full meaning it doesn't like get uneven or it randomly just cuts in on one side and then because the rib cage is a box, so if you cut in on one side, you need to cut in on the other side as well. So if it cuts in here, we need to find another plane here that cuts in. So we need to design complete forms. Does that make sense? Like it kind of gives up in certain areas. Just make full forms to draw through. Does that make it? Does that make sense? Let me lighten this up a little bit so you can see the person. Remember, just focus on like don't focus on minor details yet, like clothes and all that. Just try to get the overall shape, everything connected and everything working without much detail. So figuring out how to connect everything. So I know I want to add that second bump. I want to make her look like Michelin Man a little bit. Oh, I wonder. So as you can see, I just marked off where the length of her leg very quickly. So I can see if I like the proportions of everything or how everything is spaced. I can go and flesh it out a little bit more. There's the crotch. I'm going to treat her like a snowman a little bit. So there's her breast form. Here's her arm. Just grouping her shoulders and her the clavicles, like the shoulder and the shoulder muscle, or her IDK muscle and her shoulder, her deltoids. I'm just grouping it all at the gesture of her hands or the whole arm. Oh, she has. Is that a pocket?
Where?
In her, right there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she's
I
putting
think
her
it
hand
is.
in her
I think
pocket.
it is.
Yeah, there's a pocket in the tights, right? So figure that out. We're getting all these. We're getting a big overlap from her breast. Breasts are creating overlap. The breast combined with the rib cage is giving us our first bump. I'll bring the center line out. There's the what's that thing? Her tank top. And her tank top is nice because it helps us with overlaps and it helps us to close off forms without us having to do much work. Does that make sense? So there's our first bump. So this is why understanding form ideas is great, because if you're drawing even more more realistically, we can't see her rib cage. You know, a lot of the bony details or the landmarks, we can't see them on her. So we have to rely on, you know, like form ideas to help get across the idea of three-dimensionality. Does that make sense?
Yep. And William, make sense?
There's like a little mouth here. We can see a little bit of her stomach, and her stomach bumps out. There's gravity. One thing I want to do is I don't want her to feel like parentheses, right? Even though she's very you know, she's got all these bumps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this to her. I'm going to give her opposing curves. So this curves this way. This will curve this way. This curves this way. This will curve down lower. This is going to be my solution. This is basically her butt. We have her crotch. Stomach. Of her upper leg. I can just draw, like, once again, I'm really going to play around with this idea. I don't want her to look like a parentheses. So the overall gesture of her leg. A curve here. Curve here. He's wearing small, really small shoes, I guess. Somehow that works. We have the curve of her outer leg, her thigh, going into her calf. We have her kneecap. It's getting locked. People who are this overweight, one of the things that will happen is they'll get bow-legged. You guys know what that means?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. So our pelvis is like this. Right, simplified pelvis. There's our greater trochanter. What happens is when people get morbidly obese, is our leg naturally has an angle like that. Our humerus, I mean not our humerus, our femur. Then it goes into the shin bone, the tibia and fibula, and it goes into our feet, right? So we have that nice arc like this. What ends up happening is because there's too much flesh in here, like in between the legs can't, well, the bones are going to start like widening out a little bit. It's like people who ride horses too much. They have like that cowboy stance.
Right. So does that mean instead of the femur going in, it goes out?
It's slightly, I think it slightly faces out. So I see a lot of people with it looks like their legs are like kind of warped like this, but it's really just the
Right.
bones. They're starting to adjust to all that weight, and I think even if you lose the weight, your bones have changed. They've adapted to that stance.
And what do you call it again? Bottle
It's called bow leg.
bow leg. Okay.
And that's why people who are overweight, they get a lot of have a lot of skin problems in between here.
Like cause of sweat building up and
Yeah,
wet
it's
skin
hard. It's hard.
skin problem.
It's hard to wash, and
Yeah.
it's sad. But you can see all I'm really doing is playing with opposing curves. So you have a curve here, you have a curve here, you have a curve here, you have a curve here. But I wanted to make sure that I don't do that. I don't do that without having a gesture line. Does that make sense?
It does to me. William?
Because sometimes,
Nice.
this whole, the general muscles, they work, but, like on like normal people or someone who's muscular, but then you draw like a baby or someone who's overweight, all of a sudden that has to go out the window because, if you draw babies like the way you normally do it or the way we normally draw, it'll look like, babies that they used to draw in the Renaissance, they just look like little adults. They don't look like babies. They look like if you just scale down an adult, that's what they look like. Because their muscles are still developing and everything, so it doesn't look the same. So that's when once again we have to start relying on shape and form ideas more. It's like bicep. Where's her bicep? It's like you can't see it, but we can see an overlap. So we can have an overlap. What's in front? Her it looks like her forearm is in front, so let's have the forearm overlap. Her hand will fit in here somewhere. So she has her thumb coming out. Let's get to the gesture of her thumb. And there's the pocket. Maybe there's no bump or anything. We can maybe have just a smooth curve or her hand coming down into her pocket. You can use the tights for an overlap. There's an overlap from her stomach, just showing us the leg. Overlap from her outfit. Overlap from her tank top. And there's her hands. If I drew one side, I want to think about the other side as well, so I can relate the shoulders a little bit better. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm dealing with, like, when you guys do these kind of drawings, deal with bigger ideas first, and then you can go in with the, with the face and start adding stuff like that. And then you can figure out, how you want to design that face. So maybe you want to give her like a more prominent chin coming down and design her brow line. It's okay. I do too. I just don't finish the face in the beginning. I need to know what the head is doing so that I can figure out what the body is doing, because the head moves and then it leads the body follows. So it's good that you're doing that. It's just I don't spend a lot of time on the head in the beginning, like meaning I don't draw eyes and stuff like that. I did that earlier on. Just every now and then I might do that, but most of the time I just want to know the shape of the big overall shape of my head. So even if I try to get someone's likeness, I'm not drawing their eyes. I'm figuring out their silhouette, and then I just immediately move on. I just have the head in a position where I can easily build on it. Where ear. So yeah. Like I said, don't feel like you guys are not progressing, because I keep saying step one, stage one, stage two. I know it's one of those things you have to be constantly reminded. It has to become ingrained where we just immediately start looking for stuff. So it's okay, just keep repeating it over and over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody screws up a ton just to get this stuff. It's hard not to be reminded of this when, like, pretty much you have 6 classes and all 6 teachers are telling you the same thing. Like, oh yeah, well, your central line is off. The head is not connected to the rib cage. God damn it! You go to the next class. You're like, all right, I think I got it. And then you're doing it, and they don't say anything. But at the end of class, like, oh yeah, it's better, but your head's not connected to your. Damn it! And then you go to your next class.
Yeah.
It's the next day, and you're like, I think I got this time. You do pretty good. You feel pretty confident. They come by, your center line's off. Like, God damn it! So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, so it's a standard figure drawing. It's good. You're paying attention to stage 1, stage 2. But remember, when you draw Eric, when you want to add first, if you want to add these bumps, figure out the overall. When you get the overall gesture and just the hand, it should already look pretty decent. It should look like, if you look at everything together. So like if I was drawing, let's say, this arm here, I have it here. I find the overall average width. Maybe I might add a bump for the bicep, the deltoid. There's the wrist. Get the gesture of the hands. Drawing my noodle. Does that make sense? Like even the gesture itself, if just a simple shape, it should already start to read as that arm. I just shouldn't have to go in with like 20, like all these bumps later. And if I do start adding bumps, need to make sure that, first of all, the proportions look right. So pretty much it stays with the original shape I drew.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So we want to try to have the drawing already read at this point, without stage, the very first lines that start dropping down, they already start to read here. But did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I was wondering who this was, and I was seeing if she's in the chat or he's in the chat.
So here, focusing on stage 1, stage 2. Now we're just going back to Eric. The 3/4 head looking away. But it's a little bit more. So, if this is a 3/4 head, half a radius, I might take half a radius and just go over just a little bit, maybe even a little bit more, maybe half a radius. So like somewhere here. So here's half a radius, half of a half, so it's somewhere here. Drop 1 radius down. That's roughly about where the chin would be. Since the head is tilting away, I'll raise it up a little bit, so maybe just a little bit. He's not really tilting his head back hard. There's my front plane. Draw the avocado. Finish off the front of the face. This is where the jawline would be if it was a perfect 3/4 view. And since I went in half a radius, I'll go pull the line in half a radius. So it's like somewhere here, or half of a radius. Here's my new jawline.
And when you drop down 1 radius, you pulled up a tiny bit because he's tilting up a little bit, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't pull up a whole. It's an educated guess. Like if he's really tilting his head, then I'll start considering maybe I should go half a radius or maybe half a radius and pull down a little bit. But he's not really tilting that much.
Yeah, makes sense.
If I'm drawing Barry, I know that I can keep things even when he's tilting his head. I can still keep it at half a radius because of his beard. I mean, I can just drop 1 radius because his beard usually ends up, hitting that point.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just focusing on that Eric. So there's the ears. I think that's the key to drawing in all these different styles. You're not always drawing the same all the time, or not drawing even if you're drawing the same thing, you're improving upon it, or you're looking for new ways of doing it. I think that keeps you from burning out.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy this a lot more, like because it feels funner. But I can because I was trying to use Eric as well, like into, trying to use that method, but just modify Eric in a way to get the style that I want. And I find that it's actually helping a lot. Like I find that I can control the bumps a lot more. I can control proportion a lot more when I kind of follow the same methodology as the way we do Eric and stuff. So yeah, I think it's good.
Glad it helps. Like I said, it's good to have a ruler, but it's nice because, like I said, you're not drawing the same all the time, which I know can drive some people nuts. Like, oh man, that's why it can get boring really fast.
Yeah, and I also find like just having that, just looking at other styles and stuff just gives me so much more shape vocabulary that I wouldn't normally use and stuff, just to communicate character. Because sometimes I feel like if I was just drawing realistic all the time, which I have been before, it's like it sometimes it's like a clear shape communicates so much more about one thing as opposed to a shape which I've always been using just because it's realistic and stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. It's like, why am I using? Because sometimes when you see a more stylized shape, it communicates an idea better than the shape you've been taught, like your default shape that you've been taught or you're used to drawing. So why would I start? Why would I continuously use that shape with this other shape that's maybe it's a little bit more exaggerated? It does it better.
True.
Right, and you can draw the bottom of the neck. Because there was a student who asked about like Kim Jong-gi and like how when he, if you listen, people make it sound like, because I was talking about the observation, the OCD, observation, comprehension, and then demonstration. And he was saying the student was just curious because a lot of people make it sound like he just has a good memory, and then that's how he draws. But then it's like he has a memory of drawing it. I mean, that's usually what it is. If he's and it's not like Kim Jong-gi just looked at a car and then he just closes his eyes and then he can draw a car. He's drawn tons of cars, you can tell. When he draws people, I mean, he definitely has some kind of Eric or his own Eric, because I see some of the same characters over and over and over again, or similar characters over and over and over again, especially when he does like a side view. So he does have like a standard ruler, and then I'm sure he can just easily switch stuff up and it's a different person. Like you have to have some kind of standard or something you're comparing to so that you can actually draw. And good memory doesn't mean that, like, no matter how good your memory is, I don't think you don't develop motor skills like that unless you've drawn a lot.
Yeah. Which brings me to like a question which I've been kind of thinking before. It's like, say this is Eric, right? Like we're learning a standard anatomy to draw people and stylize people, and then we get to say if we do cars or something, is there like an Eric for cars, like or like some kind of like like a standard car that say Kim Jong-il or like anyone would remember, and then like a sports car say would be like a modification of like this Eric car? Is that a thing, or am I just, I don't know.
No,
I'm
no.
just thinking.
If you talk to some automobile guys, they do have something like that. They like go,
Right.
well, so except they don't use heads. Instead of heads, they use a wheel.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah.
They'll say like, oh yeah, you're drawing a sedan. I forgot the numbers too. I got to review it again. But a sedan tends to be this many wheels across, and there's usually X amount, like maybe like 3 or 4 wheels, or 3 wheels or 4 wheels between the 2 wheels. That's like the standard.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, and sports cars, they have this kind of look. And then so they do have like their standard measurements. When you're 40 years old and you've been drawing for a very long time, shit, I'm almost 40. I still think you don't take really shortcuts. You just do things. I wouldn't say they're shortcuts. I guess they are in a way. You're just skipping some steps, but you're still considering them. It would be nice if you don't have to think about it anymore ever. You just do it. But unfortunately, I don't think that's how it works. The only thing I think about Kim Jong-gi that to me is a little bit bad is his explanations sometimes are, they need a little, like if I was I'm just thinking about if I was a beginner.
Yeah, they need a little bit more than just draw a box.
Draw a box, because I was telling the students in Brainstorm, like I have a friend who's a very good break dancer. We used to break together. He learned every power move very easily, and it's because he's talented, but I mean, he works hard too. It doesn't mean he's like, oh yeah, I don't work hard at all, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, naturally, he's very good at knowing where his body is in space. And he's very good at that. And he knows how to control his legs very well, or he's just good at control. He like knows how to control his body. And if you listen to him explain something to you, it'll make sense in the very beginning. Like, for example, he explains every power move. He thinks about it like a top. It's like a top, all the forces in the center. And so he thinks of his hand like the center of the top. So it's like a pin. Just as the closer my hands are into my body, the more efficiently I can spin my whole body around that pin, right? And I don't destroy that force, and that's how I can generate so much power. But ask him how you do like a 1990 or a flare, and it's ridiculous. That you will die if you do it his way. 1990 is when you learn to spin on one hand. And basically, he doesn't even ask you, do you know how to do a handstand? Can you balance on one hand, or are you comfortable walking on your? He doesn't even ask that. Oh, it's really easy. What you do is there's a move called the windmill. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's basically spinning on your back, and then your legs go up in the air, and you continuously go in circle. Like you basically roll on your shoulder, your forehead, then your other shoulder, and you continually spin like that. The higher you go, it's called a halo. Even if you go higher, it's a head spin. But with him, it's called a coin drop. A coin drop is doing a windmill from a standing position, which is very difficult for a beginner. And he'll just show you like, oh yeah, it's like a coin drop. And basically, even describing a coin drop, you need to explain. There's a pattern to it. Like it's hand, hand, foot, foot, hand, hand, foot, foot. Like that's how it has to touch the ground. But if no one explains that to you, he goes, all right. So you start in a coin drop, and then when your right hand comes down, your left leg will go up. And then when your left leg goes up, you drop your left hand, and you want to try to touch your ears with your elbow. And then you straighten out your legs, and then you spin. Like, what? For air flare, when you do an air flare, you look like this at one point. Here's the ground. That's what you look like when you do an air flare.
Oh.
And his explanation for the air flare is, all right, so you start with a coin drop. It's really easy. You do the coin drop, and then your left hand comes on the ground, right? And then your right hand, then your left leg will come up in the air. When it comes up, when you start spinning around your arm, you pop your arms, and then you catch yourself. He's like, what?
That's beginners.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's easy.
It's easy. Just do it. Yeah,
I'll
do it. Yeah. You can't do it?
Really,
I can do it.
Yeah, because that's how he learned how to do it. Like literally, this dude, he learned to air flare like in a couple of months. It was like very easy for him. I mean, he was already starting off, and he's not strong. That's the thing. That's what I mean by he's very good at knowing where his body is in space, and he knows how to control his control his weight. Like he knows like what needs to move naturally. Like no one has to explain that to him. If you kick your right leg around your body, your left leg has to sweep under. He just knew that naturally. Like his body would just do it. So he doesn't know how to explain that to someone. He goes, if you kick your right leg, naturally, you'll get around. So you got to be kidding me, man. But yeah, I love that explanation. Just pop your arms. Just pop it. You pop your shoulder and you go off the ground, and then you catch yourself. And then you have momentum working for you. So you pop off the ground again. I'm just doing that.
Oh my god. Oh.
It's like, no, that's not how it works. If you pop off the ground, what another friend of mine who's actually he's a good breakdancing teacher. He's very good at explaining it to people, and he has drills so you can get it. He told him that you should never teach someone, dude, because he told him, remember that conversation? He's like, dude, Lukey, what goes up has to come down.
Oh boy.
So he's like, well, it's pretty easy. Just pop your arm. What the hell does that mean? You're basically telling somebody throw yourself off the ground and then catch yourself and then throw yourself off the ground again, and somehow swing your legs around.
Oh my gosh.
He's good for like basic moves, like he can explain that stuff to you, but I think a lot of the stuff he just understands momentum. So he's like I said, he's not strong. He's not like a very like buff, that kind of guy. He just knows how to control his weight and his placement. So he understands how to control momentum. That's how he's doing all the moves. And then so it's like, well, yeah, the only thing that he tells you that would probably make sense is, yeah, you need to stretch your legs a little bit. So you're nice and limber. And after that, it's just like,
Just pop it, man.
it's just pop it, dude. Just you know, like he learned the windmill first, and he tried to teach me how to do a windmill. I had bruises along the around on my hip for
You're
like
gonna end
months.
up in a hospital.
Yeah, but I learned how to do it because my friend was telling the other friend was like, oh yeah, when you do a windmill, you need to lean back. Like, why? He's like, well, you want your hip off the ground, and when we do a windmill, a lot of times people bend their head because they're afraid of their head touching the ground. So when you drop your head, um, your hip comes down as well. You're basically doing like a sit up while you're spinning. So if you do that, your hip will hit the floor, and that's why your hips are bruised up. So he said next time when you do a windmill, when you initiate, my friend told me don't do a windmill. You know the yoga move? It's like a candlestick. It's like spin yourself and then slowly get into a candlestick so you can get comfortable with rolling onto your shoulders. And then since you already know how to generate that power, once you get comfortable, just start rolling over slowly and go back into a freeze position. I mean, I already knew how to do all these. And then so it's like, okay. And then like a week later, I was doing it.
Nice.
Loki freaking. Oh yeah, so you want to learn how to do windmill? He teaches you the hardest windmill there is, like one of the hardest ones. It's called Nutcracker windmill. It's where your hands are around your crotch and you launch yourself off the ground with your shoulders.
Gee.
It's easy. Shut up. But yeah. So I feel like when I listen to sometimes like Kim Jong Gi or certain artists, like I feel like I'm hearing Mookie. Yeah, it's just a box. And they're
Yeah.
drawing a freaking dinosaur fighting a dinosaur, getting shot at by like I don't know, like a Megazord or something. It's just a box. But he's talking about the whole image, like the Megazord is inside the box, and it's easy. I know, sir. It's very difficult. I have no idea what you're talking about. I get it, but damn. But anyway, that's the thing. And I was just gonna say with Kim Jong Gi, I feel like a lot of people need it to be like that, where he has like a exceptional memory, and so that's why he can draw like that. But you know, like I said, it still just takes a lot of practice because, like I said, even if he has exceptional memory, he has really good draftsmanship as well and motor skills. That takes time. So I think
Yeah.
we need him to be like Superman so that it gives us an out. So it's like you're like, oh yeah, I can't do that. You can absolutely do that. Maybe not like Kim Jong Gi. There's things that you can do that's very hard for Kim Jong Gi. Just always remember that. So while you have a lot to, like they're more advanced, it doesn't mean you're any like weaker or you suck. Does that make sense? I feel like I had to say that because
No, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. You got a
what
point.
that one student said, he's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, you can absolutely do that. Just because you're an art center student doesn't because he there's a Otis student in his class, and he was always intimidated by that Otis student until he saw the Otis student's work, and he was like, wait, the student graduated Otis. Like, doesn't mean anything. So you can't feel intimidated because of that. So anyway, just make sure you connect your stage 1 and your stage 2. Be careful of your rib cage because is starting way up on the neck, and it's getting very, very thin, and the center line is just disappearing, like right around here. Where your shoulders start higher. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Need to make the torso a little bit longer. I think every artist that draws out of their head has a ruler, some kind of Eric. One good example is if you guys know Scott Campbell, he draws like the same woman pretty much every time.
Yeah, I saw his work through you talking about him like the first or second week or something like that. So I sort of know him. I guess I see his work from you mentioning it.
Yeah, I mean, his drawings are awesome. It's just, he's a comic book artist, and I get it. It's, Mary Jane, Danger Girl, any superhero girl that he draws, they're the same person. It looks like his wife. Cool. So I'll do 3 crits at once. We'll do this. So for these, it's a similar issue. Push the gestures and make sure you connect your head to your rib cage. You're doing it sometimes in certain places it's working, like here, but need to carry it over everywhere. It has to be a consistent thing. And if you design an egg-shaped character, unless they're like literally an egg shape, like you're designing a character that looks like this. Remember, the figure has opposing curves. So the body will lean over this way. There'll be a rib cage, and there'll be an arc in the back, and the pelvis will lean back out. Does that make sense? Even if you design someone who's like this character here, we need to give them some kind of posture. Even this drawing, I think, is a little bit more successful than this one, because why? You have a head shape here. There's the hair. And then you have a shape that shows us that this person is arcing their back. This is their dress. Kind of reminds me of Luis from Bob's Burgers. Does that make sense? Whereas this one is just kind of a potato shape, and then there's legs sticking into it. Just so you guys know, every shape can have gesture, even by itself. For example, if we have a triangle like this triangle has a gesture. The only thing is it's very static. It's just straight up and down. If I want to add a little bit more fluidity or movement, I can take this triangle and do something like this and bend it. Now it has a little bit more movement versus just going straight up and down. this feels a little bit more fluid than this one. Same thing with, same thing with a box. The gesture of this is very just straight up and down. It's very static. Yeah, that's what we've been. That's kind of similar to what we've been doing. You can think of it as a sack of flour, or you can think of it as the carpet from Aladdin. Yeah, it's just when it's very confident and happy, they even taper it. Actually, I think they even do this with the bottom so that it can walk. And when it's sad, it leans forward. All the gesture kind of points down. That's all this really is. And just play around with your head shape. Try not to use just straight ovals for a head. The reason why is it's not as descriptive as a silhouette. Even doing this is better as a silhouette, because at least we can see the ear. So it's telling us, even just by looking at the silhouette, we know, hey, this must be like a 3/4 view, or it must be a side view. It'll look more like a side view if you add like a nose or something, and maybe like a mouth shape or something there. It's easily recognizable. But try to stay away from just straight up circle or oval head shapes, unless you modify it a little bit. Does that make sense? Cool. No problem. Homework for this week is to do the same thing. Draw 20 figures, but focus a lot more on connecting the head and neck, and story will be secondary. Just 20. Like focus on just connecting the head to the body and just having that work together. And then if you're getting comfortable, then focus on telling a little bit more story and exaggerating the proportions. If you're really just don't know where to start, just go back to Eric and then just focus on Eric connecting the head, neck, same thing, head, neck, and shoulders to the body. Because a lot of times, if you're wondering how we can easily gauge proportions, especially if you're making it up, is usually by figuring out stage 1 and stage 2. It's easier to gauge if the proportions work or not once we get the head and the head, neck, and the body working together. If you like the proportion there, it's very easy to see if the proportions look right with the limbs. That makes sense?
Yep.
I don't really need to see the reference. You can include it. I mean, like if it's just a simple drawing like this, I can kind of figure it out. So here it's a similar thing. When you draw your rib cage, make sure it's consistent all the way through. So we don't want a rib cage to bend like this, where if your neck is like this, the bottom is like that, the center line is like this, because a rib cage doesn't bend. So if this is the front plane of your first rib, then it's telling us your 10th rib are facing in the same direction. And where we start to get bends or the center line kind of deviating is after the sternum. These points do not change. Because those are solid areas. Does that make sense? If you have to, this is just something I used to do, like when I would paint and I was afraid I would lose my my shape, is once you block in your bow tie shape and you find your center line, you can just lightly, don't go crazy with this, or otherwise your drawing will get really messy. Once you find your 10th rib or the start of your first rib, for that pit of the neck, just go ahead and draw a few maybe 4 lines going across like this, just to help remind you that that's the front plane. You find the pelvis, you find the angle of the iliac crest, and just draw a few lines going across like this. So it always kind of keeps you in mind that this is a front plane, and where we can have a little bit more of a where the angles kind of change is in the middle, because this area is malleable. So if this is we're drawing form, let's say I decide to add an interlock to this box. I know this is a front plane. And there's my oblique biting into the side. Does that make sense? Cool. Sorry, there's like a mosquito in here. Also, if you're having trouble with head shapes, doesn't matter what the view is, and you're trying to do a cartoony one, here's a very simple one you can play with. Just draw the egg or the ball, find your center line, and just add a little bump. It's a very standard kind of cartoony head. And you can figure out the mask shape. And then where you add that bump out the center line as well, because that's describing the cheek, the ball of the mouth, and also the plane of the nose. Does that make sense? Cool. Same thing with the last one for George. Try not to use boxes for heads, like literal boxes. If you have to, if you're having problems doing this, you can use the bean, like basically a cylinder for the beanbag. I mean, of the neck. Use a beanbag for the body. Find that center line. Start with a ball for the head, and you can, just add whatever kind of shape for the mask. There's your mask shape. And then start drilling some holes in the beanbag, so you can just add the arms and legs.
Hey Brian,
Yeah.
for my homework, can I do 20 I mean like 10 stylized ones and then 10 normal Erics? Because I want to I think you showed me like the painting that week, which I haven't gotten a shot at doing. It was like spotting the blacks, and you were showing me how to do that. So I was thinking maybe I could do 10 of each, like 10 stylized and then 10 unstylized, but kind of trying out the painting thing that you showed me.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that on stylized Erics as well, but yeah, if that might be a little bit easier if you're looking at something.
Yeah, I'll give that a shot first, and then if I feel comfortable, I'll try and do like 1 or 2 stylized Eric as well, like just to ease into it.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, we're gonna talk about two tones after we go over hands and legs.
Oh, okay, awesome, sweet.
Yeah, it's something that like we have to learn how to do. We have to learn how to separate our light and dark patterns. If you want to be doing any kind of like rendering like this, we have to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
I gotta finish. I have to finish my the homework for the character class as well. Set an example.
Sweet, they're looking cool. You're gonna paint those up?
Yeah, it's just gonna like each week they're done in the same style. So Chris Sanders' drawings, they're not like rendered. They look like this. Even when he finishes the image, they look more like that. Just like a flat color with a little bit of gradient and some line work. So that's easy. But all of Chris Sanders' drawings, like I said, everybody, a lot of artists I like, their shapes are always awesome. So a lot of their drawings do not actually need rendering.
Yeah, because the shape speaks for itself. Hey.
Yeah, because I found it's like if you have really nice shapes, you actually it saves you a lot of time on rendering. So if you guys look at like Muka, he can render.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So no rendering in his like a lot of these images. It's just like a nice shape, some gradients, and then he has a lot of patterns. This is Art Nouveau, so. But yeah, he can render.
Yeah.
Like you look at his more academic drawings, but you can see all of his images and shapes are really nicely designed. They read very well.
Yeah, it looks sweet. Like I like it.
Okay. Yeah, sure, you can do that. Definitely, that's always a good idea. That's actually good practice. If you guys screw up on a drawing, don't just give up on it. Either get feedback from somebody and then maybe then draw it again, or the way I was taught to do it, and it's pretty useful. Is it's just a little bit time consuming. Is let's say you don't know how to draw what's it called? Like you did a drawing, let's say in class or whatever, and maybe the model had their hands like, I don't know, like this. But you look at your drawing and you're like, what's wrong with my drawing? My drawing is not very good, right? Then find a master who has something similar, and then do a master copy of it and try to figure out what they're doing that you're not doing. And then if you can figure that out, this is another step, is find another master who drew something similar or painted something similar, and then copy their drawing. And what's going to happen is you might start seeing a common link between the two, and then redraw your drawing, and it should be better.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, show me that show me those drawing, like the yeah, the characters when you finish next week. I want to see it.
Yeah, next week will be well, we have right now, I didn't paint up the Pixar one, but this one's easy. I just need to work on the, because one of the things about Chris Sanders is Chris Sanders people are a little bit squatty, and he draws them very stocky a little bit, like especially his men. And
Yeah.
his women, they tend to have longer legs and a shorter body. And so, you analyze that. Also, another thing that Chris Sanders does, he doesn't have sharp edges. You look at all of his drawings, there's really no like sharp angles. All his sharp angles have been blunted.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's one thing I need to be aware of. So if you look at even tears and rips, I go in and I round them out. That's another thing. And the face, I try my best to have it look similar to his, like the style, like what kind of, because it's with the Chris Sanders female heads, it's pretty easy, but with his male heads, there's not that many examples. So
Yeah, there's less of them. Yeah.
And
But
plus, he doesn't.
I think you're
Go
getting.
ahead.
I think I can see the Chris Sanders in that though. Like it's in the male even. Like I think they both feel right, that they fit in the same style and stuff. I think it looks. I can see that.
Cool. And, yeah, and I need to figure out how he would draw male fingers. I know how he draws, like his fingers tend to be a little bit wormy. That's like the kind of shapes he uses. So I need to figure out how I can incorporate that into a male hand. So I'll probably just draw the hands again and indicate some of this, and then I'm done. I just put some flat colors on it, add a little bit of gradient. Also, I'd have to draw the falcon.
Yeah. Sweet.
That's it.
All right. Yeah.
No, I just say these are things that they're just fun. So
Yeah,
and I gotta
no.
do the drapery studies for the demo. I only did one for them. I usually do two, but we went along with the crit. So
Yeah. Well, no, they're looking awesome. All of them look awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Chris Anderson turns out. And yeah, dude. I guess that's it for today as well.
very good.
Alright.
Good job, everybody, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, have a good night.
Same to you.